I think I heard the greatest description of USC's offensive line ever. Quote, the O line are just a bunch of guys in wife beaters in the weight room getting jacked.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching me on YouTube or wherever you like to download your podcast, we are free. I appreciate your support. We've got over 4,000 subscribers. If you want to become the next part of the next 4,000, it's easy. If you're watching on YouTube, click that red subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button. Both of those mean a lot to the show. And Locked On USC comes at you 5 times a week. Hit that bell notification button. You will not miss one episode. This episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege or enter promo code LockedOnCollege, and you're going to get a free water bottle with any purchase. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. So USC's offensive line, just a bunch of dudes and wife beaters getting jacked. That quote came from Shane Lee, USC linebacker. That's the position group that he thinks has probably seen the biggest shift in culture since he arrived. He was talking about those guys on the Trojans Live radio show Monday night. And I just love that quote. It made me chuckle. So as you can see on today's show, I'm gonna go over the report cards from the game against Nevada. We're going to talk about the offense in the first half, in the first segment, the defense in the second segment, and at the end of the show, we're going to talk about what if. I introduced that to my audience last week. You'll have a better understanding of that when we get there. That'll be up shortly. The offensive line. Well, they're probably going to be without Gino Quinones for a little while. We're not sure exactly how long yet, but here's a quickie update from Coach Lincoln Riley. Quote, we've worked really hard on the depth. Hopefully Gino will be available for us here at some point, but if not, I think we've got enough good options ready to go, end quote. He continued, we really worked hard in the offseason to develop more bodies. Riley was talking about depth at center. Gino was one of those guys. Andrew Malek has taken a lot of snaps, especially last year. You got to see Killian O'Connor play some last week. I think Killian played really well. And then we got a couple of those starters that have the ability to pop in there and play center also in case of an emergency. So as far as the offensive line, just getting into the grades, I thought outside of a few breakdowns that, forced Caleb Williams to kind of have to do Caleb Williams things, which I really don't think he minds. It gives him those Heisman moments. And then you also had Justin Dietich uncharacteristically having some mental breakdowns, penalties, a couple bad snaps. Other than that, I thought the offensive line performed equally well with their pass protection. They showed great physicality and great athleticism with the run game. On Marshawn Lloyd's touchdown run, that athleticism really showed up. The right side was pulling, and they had to seal the inside. They did that flawlessly. So if you get a chance to check out the highlights, look for that play on Marshawn Lloyd's touchdown run. And then when Austin Jones, he had that nice pirouette. Gino was still in the game at the time, and he's the one who did the damage there. He really sealed his guy off. Look, we know it was just Nevada, so the competition is going to step up when Stanford comes to town this Saturday. And outside linebacker for Stanford, David Bailey, he's going to really be able to test both tackles. But for this game, I give them a solid B grade for the offensive line. The running backs, these guys, that room is just deep. Marshawn Lloyd, he showed literally every facet of his game. His ability to bounce it outside and finish with a burst. He showed what he can do catching the ball over the middle. But I think his best play was him doing that, what we want running backs to do. But that's usually protect the quarterback with their blocking ability. Well, he showed that he can take off from the backfield, run about 20 yards, and then put the finishing block on Taj Washington's first touchdown reception. It was just a great effort. If you're not aware of it by now, freshman Quentin Joyner, he now holds the longest running touchdown in the Lincoln Riley era at USC, 47 yards. So again, the running backs, they're blocking, they're running hard, they're not taking any tackles for losses, and ball security has been a non-issue. So when you're getting 10.8 yards per carry like they did against Nevada, you're going to get a B+ grade from me. I'm not going to give any A's. Again, grading on a curve for this game because of the competition. Now, the wide receivers, they did nothing bad in this game whatsoever, but they weren't extraordinary either. And I guess that's really the bar that we're setting now at the wide receiver group. Taj Washington, he might be the best overall wide receiver on the team. He blocks, he catches, he's got great speed. He had 2 touchdowns on the game. Zachariah Branch and Deuce Robinson were only slightly upstaged with their performances by Michael Jackson, and that's because he had a nice touchdown dance at the end. All 3 of those guys scored. And another thing, there was no bad drops by the wide receiver group. Now, maybe we need to see 1 or 2 wide receivers kind of assert themselves soon and become those go-to guys. But, Dorian Singer showed up, and so did Brendan Rice. Both of them showed what they're capable of doing. When Caleb Williams is doing those, he's making his own pocket. It's a drill they do. Caleb Williams is keeping the pocket alive. At that point, wide receivers, they gotta run with Caleb. They gotta find space. They both did it. Dorian had that nice one-handed grab down the sideline. Brendan Rice with the touchdown catch. And I know it wasn't just receivers, but if you catch the ball, you become a receiver. 14 different guys had a reception in the game. It's a pretty deep and talented group. Probably one of the deepest and talented in the country. Not maybe. They are. I'm giving the group a B. Again, they did nothing special, but they didn't underperform either. They're better than average. Caleb Williams, look, he makes it really difficult to give a grade. Here's the analogy. It's kind of a little anecdote. He's like I was when I took algebra back in 10th grade. For whatever reason, algebra was really easy for me. Kind of like playing quarterback is for Caleb. It comes naturally. It's very easy. There were times that I could actually do the formula in my head. And I didn't have let's just say that I was a discipline problem in high school. I like to let people know I was around, including the teacher. So when I got my report card at the end of the year, he said, "Mark, stand up, tell everybody what I gave you." I got an A for the material and a U for unsatisfactory. Yeah. And he's like, "You know what?" The teacher said, "I don't know what kind of person Mark will turn out to be as far as with having discipline and being respectful, but he learned what he was supposed to learn." Well, that's Caleb Williams playing quarterback. It's really easy for him. And so, he does things that he knows he's not supposed to do because he knows the result is going to be positive. It's kind of like having that kid in algebra, that likes to talk back, and you really can't do anything about it because Caleb Williams is learning how to play quarterback and how to handle pressure. So I know, loose analogy, I'm not comparing myself to Caleb in any way, shape, or form, but what I was trying to do is sometimes you just got to let talent do what talent does. With that said, both he and Miller Moss played their A game. So it's really hard for me to knock that position. Both were really, really, really good. I said at the top of the show I was going to be grading on a curve. So despite putting up 66 points on offense and averaging a minute 59 on their scoring drives, their touchdown drives, 4 plays, 4 plays, 4 plays, 4 plays, 3, 7 plays, 5, and 2. That's how long it took for them to score. That's crazy. There's still stuff to clean up. So taking into consideration the competition, look, it was the easiest test of the year for USC's offense. I'm giving it a solid B+. Still stuff to work on. Hey, it's summertime, and it means it's time for you to put on your bird dog shorts. We had a little bit of a summer break over the Labor Day weekend. The temperatures are going to be heating up as Stanford comes, even though it's a 7:30 p.m. kickoff. So make bird dogs, get a pair, because they're going to make you look slimmer when you put them on. They're designed to fit you slimmer through the slide, by the way, through the thigh. Here's some bird dogs. They're stretchy. They're comfortable. They come with that liner inside. Really good stuff. And they give you that sculptured look when you wear them. So if you got those thick athletic thighs, don't have to worry about it. And bird dogs, they do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but they fit way better. A lot better. And they use an anti-stink, anti-sweat fabric. It's called a wicking fabric, and it's going to keep you cool and dry during the day. There's literally no trading places. I like wearing my bird dogs because when I look good, I truly feel good when I wear them. So go to birddogs.com/lockedoncollege, and you're going to get a free drinking cup or a tumbler. That's birddogs.com/lockedoncollege. Use the promo code lockedoncollege, and you're going to get a free Yeti style something like this. And I promise you, you're not going to want to take those bird dogs off. I promise. Hey, the college football season is here, and this season, Locked On is kicking up our coverage. Every Friday, Locked On will go live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on every Locked On College YouTube channel, including this one. Locked On College Football Live will cover the college football playoff implications, the conference rivalry games, and go in-depth like only Locked On can, including insight and analysis from our stable of Locked On College hosts covering their team every day, kind of like what I do here for you. Find Locked On College Football live every Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on any Locked On College YouTube channel. You won't want to miss it. Let's get into the defensive grades. Last week, it was pass, no pass. Well, this week, you're getting an actual letter grade. You earned one. You did something. You showed improvement, and that's why we're going to show how well you did. There's no doubt about it. Nevada is going to be USC's easiest opponent, their easiest opponent on the schedule all year. They take the place of Colorado, who showed, hey, you know what? They might have something to them this year. We'll find out as that season goes on for them too. I thought the defense performed well, save for a couple of big plays they gave up that led to both of the Nevada touchdowns. Look, they dominated a team they're supposed to dominate, right? Let's just be honest about this. I'm going to start with the defensive line and the rush ends. I like to combine that group because the rush ends and the defensive ends, they work so closely together. And the rush end is up there on the line. They're just in a stand-up position when the ball is snapped. So, look, as far as the defensive line themselves, they were getting penetration from the edges, up the middle, especially the rush ends. They were chasing from the edge. Jamil Muhammad, he's got that extra gear, and Braylon Shelby is, dude, he's just starting to understand the college game, and we found out he's a really fast learner. I mentioned his play, assisting on Stanley Taufo's pick six. Yeah, the pass rush overall, they maintain their lanes way better than week one. Overall, the defensive line, their push was much better than we saw against San Jose State, but they were also more controlled this week. Bear Alexander did most of the damage. He was literally just collapsing guys. There was one play where I think he was at least 4 yards into the backfield. He almost caused a fumble at the mesh point where the quarterback and the running back kind of meet up. Jalen Smith got the credit for the tackle for loss, but it was Bear Alexander that made that whole play happen. Solomon Byrd actually forced a fumble, so USC had a chance to be on the positive side with the turnovers, but unfortunately the ball kind of bounced right back to Nevada. But Byrd overall, solid, strong game. Look, I said it on yesterday's episode. The defensive line, the rush end, the talent is just better this year. This is my starting group going forward. Solomon Byrd, defensive end. Stanley at nose tackle. I'm going to put Bear Alexander at defensive tackle. Jamil Muhammad is starting at rush end. That was the best group on the field together. So defensive line, rush end, you guys get a B grade for me. The linebackers, look, they were down a couple starters. Talked about it on yesterday's show. Mason Cobb, Eric Gentry, they weren't available. Eventually, Tacker Curtis wasn't available. So no Mason Cobb, no Gentry, no Curtis, no problem, right? Shane Lee showed off his new speed, and he got a sack. Rajon Davis played, 60 snaps? He made his case with some really strong run support. He was really good in pass coverage, always swarming to the ball. Overall, linebackers, you guys are going to get a really nice B grade. The secondary, look. Excuse me. They're still giving up the big plays. But look, they cut down the number to only 2 in this game, right? So that's a big marked improvement. I get it. Talent level is much different. Nevada versus San Jose State. As far as those 2 big plays that they gave up, look, Damani Jackson, he wasn't in terrible position to make a play on the ball, but he didn't trust his technique. He's got to understand that there's a time and a place where you're fast enough that you can turn and look for the ball, but he waited until the very end. At that point, the guy was already a few steps behind him. So the other big play was that's really a scheme thing. When you're asking a safety to play off the ball in man coverage without any deep safety help, and you're covering from the slot, that's just a really tough assignment for a lot of people. I don't care who it is. Maybe Kalen Bullock can make that type of recovery and coverage, but asking a player like Anthony Beavers, who I think is probably more of an in-the-box safety, asking him to do that, that's a tough thing to do. Jalen Smith is doing his job at the nickel, and he's doing a lot of that without getting a lot of the headlines. Lincoln Riley said it on the Trojans live radio show Monday night that last year that position it wasn't productive. Well, so far in the first 2 games, him, Jalen Smith I'm referring to, and Christian Roland Wallace, it's going to be a good rotation between those guys. Now, again, always room for improvement. I went back and forth. I'm going to give the secondary a C+ grade. I wanted to do B-, but again, get rid of those big plays, and you guys are up there in the B category. Defensively, overall, look, we didn't see any third long conversions. Good thing. There were still talked about some busted coverage, but overall defense was much tighter, stronger, and I thought we saw a much more consistent defense. Third down, look, they're getting off the field, forcing punts, so third downs, really good. And look, they held the run game to 49 net yards rushing. Look, that's a good number, no matter who the competition is. You made them a one-dimensional team. You had 5 sacks. You divide that up between Shane Lee, Solomon Byrd, Jamil Muhammad, Dejon Benton, Braylon Shelby. You had 10 tackles for loss. The defense did what they should against a team they should do it against. So overall, I thought even Alex Grinch called a better game. The defense, you get a B overall. All right, get ready for the NFL season with some credible offers from FanDuel. FanDuel, they are America's #1 sports book. Right now, if you're a new customer, you can bet $5 and you're going to get $200 back in bonus bets, and that's guaranteed. Plus, all customers, whenever you bet $5, you're going to get $100 off the NFL Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Hello, check that offer out. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy, it's easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player prop bets and a whole bunch more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. That's FanDuel. They are the official sports betting partner of the NFL. All right, we're here in the third segment of the show, and I introduced this to my Locked On viewers last week, and we're going to continue to do it until you tell me, Mark, find something else to talk about. I call it my Monday's morass, and this is one of the columns I write over there on wearesc.com. So this is how we kind of put the Nevada game, the previous week's game behind us before we move on to the next week. So every Monday, I kind of like to throw out some what if questions. It's leftover morass, like what would have happened if this happened? So let's, in generalities, what if USC's offense can't be stopped? So far, they're putting up big time points. They put up 59 points and 68 yards of offense against Nevada. Now, again, how much of that is due to Nevada just being terrible? Well, it doesn't matter because last week they put up 56 points. You're starting to see more players being involved, different types of play calling from Lincoln Riley. Look, Zachariah Branch, he was kind of released last week. This week, you saw Deuce Robinson. You saw Marshawn Lloyd catching the ball out of the backfield. We haven't even gotten to the tight ends yet. Didn't even give them a grade in the offensive category. You know why? Because all they did was block. You get a B. You didn't do anything to hurt the team. But as far, what if USC's offense is unstoppable? They don't have a #1 receiver. They can run the ball whenever they want. Again, I understand the competition level, but Caleb Williams is just getting better at quarterback. The wide receivers are deep. Look, we're going to have a better understanding of what this offense can do as the competition steps up. That starts Saturday against Stanford. But, last year they were pretty much unstoppable. The best defense in the conference last year was Utah. They didn't do anything to stop USC's offense. Is there anybody on the schedule that's going to stop them? We'll find out. What if Lincoln Riley doesn't call a trick play? Look, I understand why he did it. You want to see what works, what doesn't. But you're treating these preseason games like you treat, the NFL treats their games. You want to find out player combinations, who can do what, and yada, yada, yada. But as far as I'm concerned, trick plays, they should be used when a team needs to gain an advantage, change the game's momentum, or maybe you're trying to catch the opposing defense sleeping. Against Nevada, USC's offense was productive. Again, they didn't need to pull out a trick play. You're not going to gain any advantage over Nevada. You put up 628 yards. And when you did this trick play, you put the offense behind the sticks. And this is one of the drives where they had to punt. And it ended in less than a minute. So, I don't know. It just felt like, save the trick plays. Those should be kill shots. Save those kill shots for the better teams on USC's schedule. So what if they don't call a trick play? More than likely, They score a touchdown on that drive. Worst case scenario, Dennis Lynch is called out to kick another field goal. Again, being tricky in the first half of games against inferior opponents, it proves nothing. But look, I get it. He's trying to find out if the play will work. I don't know. Do it with the backups. What if Caleb Williams is actually better than last season? That's a scary thought, right? Look, so far, he's thrown for 597 yards and 9 touchdowns through 2 games. And he hasn't even played through an entire game in either one yet. Last year at this point, through 2 games, 590 yards and 6 touchdowns. That came against Rice and Stanford. If Caleb Williams is better than last season, that's just, look, it's terrible news for USC's opponents, but that's great news for USC. And if he is better, USC fans are going to be really happy at the end of the year. So USC, they won both of their first 2 games of the year relatively easy. But everybody else got to play this week. So what if USC gets jumped in the polls? Right? Did the Florida State Seminoles do enough in their game to jump USC? Or were the Tigers overrated? Because USC was number 6, LSU was number 5, and I believe Florida State was number 8 in the initial AP poll. I think most assumed LSU's preseason ranking, the reason why they were above USC was because of that the defense still wins championships narrative. Well, I get it. Everybody thought Florida State was going to have a pretty good defense. Well, LSU had 300 yards of offense by halftime. And we saw what Florida State did to LSU's defense in the second half. So I guess what makes a good defense, right? And I'm talking about LSU specifically. They gave up 31 points in the second half of their loss. They gave up 45 overall. USC's given up 42 points total in both games. So is Florida State going to get credit for beating an SEC team, beating LSU? Probably. Look, you're looking at brand, name recognition. Florida State had an impressive win. It was a semi-home game. It was in Florida, in Orlando. It wasn't quite Tallahassee, but and look, if they jump them, they jump them. Great, whatever. USC didn't do anything to fall in the polls, so we'll see what happens when the new poll is released. And let's be honest, first week of the season, the poll means nothing. As long as USC wins, at the end of the year, they will be exactly where they want to be. In the conference championship game, they win that, they will be in the playoffs. So there's some what ifs. Was there any other what ifs from the game that would have changed the complexion? Probably not. USC was that dominant. So if we want to look ahead to Stanford, what if the offensive line isn't ready for a player of David Bailey's caliber? We're going to find out because Saturday will be here soon enough. I'm going to have more stuff to talk about on tomorrow's episode of Locked on USC. I'll have a practice report, and I'll also have some more quotes from Lincoln Riley, as well as players from the defensive side of the ball, and we also get Alex Grimm. So make sure you're here for tomorrow's episode of Locked on USC. That's why you come here 5 times a week. You're not going to get 10 minutes of content. You're going to get 30 minutes or less, usually 30 minutes or more sometimes, of all the inside information you want. Like only Locked on USC can bring it because I'm there at practice. I'm there at the games. That's why you make Locked on USC your first listen every day. So until tomorrow's episode, everyone, you know what to do.